Okay people, welcome to your first tutorial on how to complete some classwork drawings for grade 11 industrial graphic skills. The first task that you've got is to model the parts of this crank arm here, which we see on the screen. You'll see that you're provided with three parts, a body, a washer and a handle. And being a crank arm, this part here would then be attached to an axle, which might go into a motor of some description. There's a small keyway in there to stop that axle and the body from rotating around each other, which would then mean that the handle would be separated from the body by this washer, but it would rotate inside here. So you'd grab this handle and crank it in a clockwise or anti-clockwise direction. Okay, so there's three parts to draw, plus I'm going to also challenge you to draw an axle and a keyway as well. I'll show you how to do that. And traditionally, we would probably draw these parts as separate pieces, 1, 2, 3, and then assemble them together. Fusion works a little bit differently, and I think a little bit more efficiently. Instead of drawing them as three separate parts, we're actually going to start off by drawing this body, which is literally called the body, and then while we've got that body open, we'll pull geometry off it to create the washer, and we'll do the same thing. We'll pull geometry off the washer area to create the handle, and then we'll use the geometry here from the body to create an axle and also a keyway. Basically what you're going to end up with is something looking a little bit like this. There's your 5 parts. You can see our sectional front view here. We've got our handle, the washer, there's the body, there's the axle and a keyway going through, and there's all the parts there as well. Okay, so to start things off, let's familiarise ourselves with these dimensions. It might be a good idea to have this on a printed handout beside you so you can quickly make reference to it rather than having to flick back in between screens. Okay, so let's go to Fusion, and you can see here, here's my one that I've finished before. So I'm going to go back to my data panel, and I'm going to make sure that I'm in the correct project, which I am. There's my classwork 1 crank arm. If you haven't yet done this, you'll need to go back to your main menu if you like, and under the projects tab, click on new projects, create a new project called classwork 1 crank arm, and all of the files, drawings and models and parts are all going to sit inside this folder if you like. You can pin things to make them appear at the top of this list as well, rather than being down here. You can pin it up like so by clicking on this little symbol here. It says pin, and it'll move it up into this important area. Okay, so I'm going to drill into there, and you can see I've already got some existing ones, so I'm going to start a new design, and I'm not going to name it just yet. Actually, no, I'll show what I'll do. So I'm going to come up to model. I'll make sure that I'm in the modeling environment, I should say, to start off with. You notice that there are all these other environments. Make sure we're in the modeling environment. And where are we? Here we go, here, file and a new design. And I might close the data panel so I've got some more real estate. And at this point, I'm going to draw the shape of the body for the crank arm. So I'm going to click on this create sketch, and I'm going to choose one of these work planes. It really doesn't matter which one you choose. I might just choose that one for argument's sake. And then I'm going to start to draw the shape of the top of the body here and the bottom of the body there. Now it's mostly made up a lot of circles. So C on my keyboard gives me a shortcut for circles. Click once, drag away. I'm going to go to the largest circle first, which is 50. Hit the enter key. Another circle for the hole for the axle. C again. Click once. Click type in the distance. This time it's 30. And then I'm going to position the other circles down here for the bottom of the body. What I'm going to do to give myself a sort of point of reference is I'm going to click on C again, hold my cursor on this center here for a second, move it down, and as you see move it down there, it actually gives you a little blue dash line, which basically means it's locked onto a point directly below that. If you don't do that, you may think you've got the circle in the right spot, but it won't be directly below it. So click once for the center, move your cursor away, and the largest diameter at the bottom there, I'm looking at -30, and it's got a hole going through it, so C again, snap to that point, move away, and the hole in the middle is 9. And now I've got to draw 2 lines of tangency between these edges here. But before I do that, I need to make sure the distance between the centers of the circle is correct. So D on my keyboard for dimension. Snap to the center of this circle, 1. Snap to the center of that circle, 2. And drag your cursor away. Click again, and then type in the distance, which is 70 millimeters between centers. Now I've got those the correct distance away. Last thing to do then is to create 2 lines of tangency, so L for line. Hover my cursor somewhere on this edge here, so it's intersecting it. Click once. Bring the line down until you see the tangency symbol appear. It's like a circle with a line parallel touching its edge. You can see it changes. I'll zoom in a bit. Hopefully you can see it if I do it. No tangency until I get to that point there. And then I'll do the same on the other side. And there's the tangency point. Now you notice here we've got 2 tangency constraints for the line to the edge of the circle in here, but there's no tangency constraint up there, so we need to insert a tangency constraint. At the moment this looks like it's tangent, but it's probably not. So come across to your sketch palette, come down to find the tangency option, there it is there. Click once on the line that you want to be tangent, and once on the line that you want it to be tangent to. You see it's moved the line slightly, and now the constraint appears. I'm still in the mode of tangency, so I click on one line, click on the other line, and you can see it's gone tangent to it. Okay, I think I've got enough geometry. Oh no, we need to put the keyway in here. Okay, so if you have a look on your drawing, you'll notice the information given to you is that the keyway is 6 millimeters wide by 3 millimeters deep, and it is also on a point somewhere around the circle here. So what I'm going to do is zoom in a bit, and I'm going to use the rectangle tool, so R for rectangle, or you can use it up here in the sketch one as well, there it is there, R for rectangle. And what I'm going to do is hold my cursor over this edge so it snaps to it. See, it turns into that blue cross. If I click here, it doesn't really have any reference. So I'm going to snap to there, click once, drag away, and then I'm going to type in the distance of 3 for its depth, then hit the tab key, and then it's asking me for its width, which happens to be 6, and then hit the enter key. Now you can see there that it's not in the correct position. So what we need to do now is to be able to constrain one edge to say a center point or something like that. So D for dimension, click one edge, find the center of the circle perhaps, and you can see here that gives me the distance from that edge to the center. At the moment that's 5.73. Well, I'll click there and I want to make that half of 6, so it's equidistant either side of the center. Make that 3, hit enter. We'll zoom in on that, and we can see that that is still on that edge. Come over here, it's also on the edge as well. Now traditionally, if you were in Creo or something like that, you'd trim all these excess lines away and so on, but one of the great things about Fusion is you don't have to have a closed loop of lines. You can actually pick and choose what you want. Okay, so that's the first part to actually create the geometry for the body and actually most of the rest of the parts as well. See if you can get that far, and then we'll continue with lesson 2.